My name is Shauna Goldman. I am the founder and director of Nelson Early Learning Services. We provide a variety of services. The main service that we do provide currently is for staffing services for early childhood learning programs. That stems from whether you are a family child care program, whether you're a center-based program, or you're a school-based program. And we support educators in the classroom working with children birth all the way up to 5 years old.
Okay, pretty cool. So I just want to clarify, make sure that I understood that. So it's just staffing, meaning like helping the institution, the educational institution, and making sure that they have like those right candidates and everything in there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So just think of it as if an educator is going on PTO. So she needs a day off or he needs a day off, then the program will reach out to us and say, hey, I have a staff member that's going out for the day or for the week. Do you have anyone that can come in and support? Because we want to make sure that that ratio in the classroom still remains.
Yes.
So we'll send an educator as part of Nelson to go into the classroom and support that other staff that's already placed in there to help out with everything from routines to, learning experiences that we know that are done daily with children.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
You're very
Which
welcome.
leads me to you having a little sign that maybe you want to share with us.
Yes. So I have 3 beautiful children. I have a son that is going to be 6 years old in 6 days, and he's very excited every day. It's when is my birthday? When's my birthday? Counting down. So that's been very exciting. I also have a 4-year-old, and I have a 26-year-old that is going to be 27 in November. So I do have a range. Yeah. So we started all over again. So it is a beautiful span to know that my daughter can be there to support us with the 2 little ones.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, would you mind sharing your background with us and how you got into your industry and what's led you here today?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? So I feel like since I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to surround myself with education. I think a lot of the things that came up for me as a young girl is that my dad only had a 5th grade education. We were born and raised in Jamaica, and I said we, my sisters and I, but my dad loved to tell stories, even to this day, that, he will have a dream, and then that dream end up being like a 20-minute story. So we're always engulfed with these storytelling that he used to do. But my family, even though we lived in a 3rd world country and we really didn't come from a lot, the stories and education was very big to them. So I do remember just grasping just like every little thing, every stories, every wanted to know more about life, knowing about the world. And as an educator, or as a person that wanted to be in the field of education, I found myself like going back and forth between what do I want to be when I grow up, right? So I did end up going to school. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology.
Nice.
And from there, I went back and forth with, do I want to be a school counselor, which is something that I toyed with, or do I really want to be a teacher? I landed my first job as a therapist working with children with autism.
Okay.
And I think using that psychology background and that love for education and blending the 2 together somewhat kind of led me to where I am today, but it's more so trying to figure out how I wanted to use the little girl that wanted to be that educator and that psychology degree, and how I can mesh the 2 to create a business.
Yeah.
So I started a company in 2004. It was a tutoring company, once again, still using that educational background. And from there, I was really supporting like friends and families who really needed that, that extra push in the classroom. From there, I branched out. So my grandmother, who was, God rest her soul. She died in 2017, or I'm sorry, in 2007. She gave me my first $100 to put articles in the Washington Post. I don't know if you remember the Penny Saver magazine. So the Penny Saver magazine was a really like a small brochure magazine that used to be sent out in the mail to everyone. We don't do that anymore because we can find everything online, right?
Yeah.
So I put out an article for like a tutor, and if you guys need tutoring services in math, reading, anything, please do reach out. And I remember getting my first client. And then from there, it was like word of mouth, everything just spread.
Wow.
So it was just like, that ripple effect.
Yes.
It's just like one thing after another after another. I'm still doing a little bit of tutoring here and there now, but what really led me to the staffing is being in classrooms, surrounding myself with educators, with families, with children, and seeing that need. So it's not just educators who are saying, we're always short staffed, or we really need the extra support in the classroom. Can you work with us? I need to go to the bathroom. Can you step in?
Yeah.
And of course, I can't be a part of that ratio, but if you need to go to the bathroom, you need
Please
to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
There's actually a study that was recently done that says educators are more likely to get a UTI because they start the morning using the restroom, and a lot of times they're leaving the day without even using the restroom, right? So we want to make sure that they get that time, whether it's just running to the bathroom or getting a breather. Or
Simple as
that.
that.
Exactly, right, which is so needed. So I saw that need. I saw the stress that it took on the educators. And then when you're in the classroom all day, every day without a breather, without any kind of relief, you end up taking that stress out on other children.
Absolutely.
So I think that light bulb finally came on for me, like, what can I do? Instead of me going back in the classroom, instead of me doing the work, what else can I do to make a change? Yeah. And I think that's where I'm just like, why didn't I just create that pool? Why didn't I just hire educators who have that passion like me, who has been in the classroom, but they're like in between, or still do want to support in one capacity or another, but not full time.
Okay.
So that's where I came up with the idea of starting a staffing agency.
That is awesome. And I guess it ranges from all kinds of like education and subjects.
Exactly.
Very
yes.
Cool.
So as I said, it's mainly with the younger ones, but if you're thinking about like the foundational pieces that we're setting and we're laying to best support educators and the children that we're serving from day to day.
Okay. And sharing that piece of information about the UTI, like, I'm sure maybe that's come up in my mind, but like for other people who maybe weren't even aware that teachers even went through this,
right?
That leads me to the next question of marketing. Like, you have all this like just knowledge that you could be sharing. Are you avid on social media? Are you marketing yourself out there about your services and all these tips?
I would like to say I am, but I'm trying to do my best. I am not the best with social media, to be completely honest.
That's okay.
I really don't even know the first thing to do. I can respond to something, but in terms of
totally
like posting.
Okay.
So I do have internal staff. My daughter is the branding manager, so she's the one that has actually...
The 27-year-old,
Yeah,
right?
the 27-year-old. She's the one that put forth everything that you see currently on our Facebook and our social on our Instagram page. I also hired an admin assistant because I felt like with my two little ones, with personal life, with running a business, life just comes at you full speed. And my thing is that I really want to make this successful.
Yes.
So my husband always said, if you want to make money, you have to spend money, right?
Yes.
So I had to step out there, hired an admin assistant. I also have a staffing associate that's part of our team. She's the individual that actually goes out and collect all the paperwork. And when I'm saying paperwork, in terms of like documents to make sure that that person is CPR and first aid certified to go into the classroom and work with children. We want to make sure that they have all their necessary credentials. So whether it's their CDA, a CDA isn't it's like one step down from getting like an associate degree, but it's in a degree that they can, or a certificate that they can get to work with children in all early childhood settings. And then we also make sure that they have their mandated reporter. So if you see something happen to a child in terms of like any kind of abuse, you have to say something and report it because it's the well-being of the children. So she takes care of all that. And once all those paperwork are done and signed off on, then we can, place that individual in the program. We also have a recruiter. So she does like all the recruiting, all the interviews, everything that we need to make sure that that person's coming on board with us. So in terms of the question that you asked, in terms of like social media and marketing, we do have those individuals in place to make sure that our name is getting out there. And as well as this podcast, that's part of marketing as well, right? So we also host monthly an informational session. So we do that via Zoom. So we invite the public to ask us any questions about Nelson Early Learning Services or about pay, which is usually a big question for a lot of people. How am I going to get paid for this? And then, it's also an opportunity for us to share all the ins and outs of the position,
Yeah.
just so someone can make an informed decision if they want to join the team.
Okay, very cool. I wanted to ask, since your whole industry revolves around the education system, did you have any fond or nice memories of an educator that inspired you, or you were just like, wow, she was just so great to everybody, I want to be like that when I grow up?
It's so interesting that you said that because I just connected with that educator. She was actually my high school counselor.
Aww.
Yes.
Tell me
And
about that.
so, Miss Harrison, that's
Shout
her.
out.
Hi, Miss Harrison. So Miss Harrison really was instrumental in where I am today. And those were exactly the words I used when I met up with her in February for the first time in over 20 something years. So I was a teen mom. I got pregnant my senior year of high school, as my daughter being 27. And I remember sitting in her office, and she says to me, this, you know that this shouldn't be it for you. You can do so much more. So she walked me through the process of like all the options I have in terms of like going to school, pausing and going back to school, just like everything possible. So she laid it all out for me. Yeah. I do remember her saying that whatever you decide to do, it's your choice, right? So this is your choice, but you don't have to fall into that stigma of what everybody sees as
Or
teen
assumes.
moms, right? Or assumes. So I do remember taking that advice and running with it. As I mentioned, I got my bachelor's degree, so I went to George Mason University. I started out as a part-time student, and she's actually the one that gave me that idea. Like, you don't have to do full-time. Of course, being 18 years old, you don't know any of this stuff, right? So you thought everybody's going off to college. You have to be on campus. Yeah. You got to do everything that everyone else is doing. So as I said, she laid it all out for me. So I did start my first 2 semester as a part-time student, with a newborn, trying to figure out, can I actually do this? And I realized I can do it. So I end up being a full-time student. So Miss Harrison was that person in my life that says, hey, you can do it. Whether you have a child or not, make sure that you're doing it to the best of your ability. She has been on my mind over the years. I feel like every time something really amazing happens to me, she comes up. So I decided I was going to reach out. The first person I actually reached out to was my sister, because she remembers everyone. She's like, I don't believe we have her full name, so let's try to figure out her full name. Because, I remember
She's
her.
She's a little investigator.
Yes. Mrs. Harrison. So it's actually Pippi Harrison. And when we looked at Facebook, I actually got in contact with someone like in England. And she was like, no, that's not me. That's not the person you're looking for. So I dig a little bit deeper. And then I found her name in an article of something that she did. And she's very local. She's part of Fairfax County Public Schools still. Wow. And I reached out. I looked up, her address in the directory for the school. And I reached out by saying, hey, you were at Thomas Edison in 1998, around that time. I just want to know if this is the same Miss Harrison. And she responded within like 20 minutes. She was like, hi, Shauna.
She remembered. Of course, right?
She was like, hi, Shauna, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to reconnect with you. So we went back and forth just trying to figure out a best time to meet. We ended up canceling like the first go around. I think we had like a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And then the next time around, it was like another snowstorm, but we decided that we were like, regardless of what's going to happen.
We are tornado.
We are
meeting.
We are meeting. We end up meeting at a nice little bakery. We sat for almost 2 hours and just talked about life. And it was really nice because I still saw her as my high school counselor. And when we talked about our ages, we were only maybe like 6 years apart. So
I was thinking like she was going to be like more 10 years.
She was about like 26, 27 years old, like the same age of my daughter right now. And I was only 18. So only a few years apart. So, just where we are in life in terms of our children, our growth, our professional lives, we were able to connect in that ways. And I still reach out to her, regularly just to ask her how she's doing and so on and so forth. So we are in the works of getting back together.
Wow. Yeah. I have like chills because that story is just amazing. It's so incredible. And the fact that Miss Harrison is just so impactful in your life, and like thinking about all these individuals maybe that other people have like their Miss Harrison for them.
Absolutely.
And like you could pass the torch and be that as well, maybe for somebody else or another educator. I think that's just so amazing. And I'm so happy that you were able to find her and
Thank
like
you.
share your life with her. And I'm sure she was curious, like, I hope she made it. Like,
I know, right?
right? And now she has that confirmation, and I'm sure she's aware now about the impact that she had on you. And she's just proud of you because, you know, you have to do the work too, right? So.
And absolutely. And I think, just hearing her say, I'm so glad to hear that you're in this place in your life. And I don't think she had any doubt that I could get there, but just to actually see it and hear it for herself, was a very meaningful for her as well. Yeah.
Very
so
powerful.
Hopefully there's a lot more Mrs. Harrison.
Yes, we would love that. If you're out there and you're like Miss Harrison, please.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And hence the name of my company, so Nelson Early Learning Services. So
you brought a book.
Yes, I did bring a book, which
Let's
I want
see
to share.
Please.
So Miss Nelson is Missing is a very big inspiration of how I came up with the name of the company. So Miss Nelson is Missing is it's a story about an educator who's working with a group of children in her classroom, but she just cannot seem how to get through to them. So she decided, like a lot of educators who are being creative, okay, what else can I do? So she ended up flipping the script. She ended up going back home. She ended up like putting on costumes and came back as this completely other person. Of course, the person that walked into the classroom is a lot meaner, just nasty and ugly. Those substitutes that we really don't like.
Yes.
Just like, where's my teacher? I want that person back. And I think in those few days that substitute was replacing Mrs. Nelson, the children realize how wonderful Miss Nelson really is. Mm-hmm. And that's my Mrs. Harrison, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at so many different names of how I wanted to highlight the work that we're doing and the quality of individuals that we want into the classroom. So when we're thinking about, like, anyone can teach, right? But we want individuals who are going to educate, who are going to make a difference in children's lives. And that's our Miss Nelson. That's our Miss Harrison, right? So the name is a very big inspiration, not only to the work that I'm doing, but to my own personal life.
That is beautiful. Yeah. I love how inspired you are and how you just take those pieces and involve them and put them into your life's work and everything. That's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And where do you hope to see yourself as a person and your business in the next 5 years? Any rooms for expansion, going to maybe other states?
Oh, yes.
Tell me.
5 years. So where are we? 24. So we're leaning on, oh my goodness, 29, 30. Wow. I can't even fathom that. But yes, a big goal of mine is to branch out regionally. I do want to, the majority of the work that we do is in Washington, D.C. Okay. We do have 2 clients that are in Maryland and 1 client in Virginia. So before we go regional, I definitely want to make sure that we're in the Virginia and the Maryland area and to support those educators as well. And then from there, which is still within that 5-year window, definitely branching out and going regionally, because we know that the work that we're doing here can support others. So, in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, in New York, those are big urban cities and communities that may not have they do have the resources, but they may
Maybe
not
they don't
have
know
it.
Where to go,
Exactly.
Don't
know where to go or haven't really tapped into that yet. And I think a lot of times when I do have these outside conversations, folks are just like, we know this is possible, but just having someone to help us with that template, like a floor plan of what this could possibly look like. Yeah. It would actually be nice to say, hey, let's try to find the money, because the money is there.
Yes.
So I definitely want to make sure that I do that. And to be honest, in terms of like professionally, I would like to continue building my team to a point where I can step back and do more of like the overseeing of the work, building that out, and not feel so engrossed or engulfed into like the day-to-day.
Yeah. No,
and
totally.
Enjoy my boys growing up, and maybe going back to school as well and getting my MBA or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, the world is your oyster,
right?
Yeah. That is awesome. I hope that you're able to achieve all of that. I know
Thank
you
you.
will. Like,
Thank you
have
so
the
much.
passion for it. I was going to ask you. What was my question? Oh, I'll just skip it. I had this question, but anyway. I remember your current staff right now. Are you guys like in a building, or is it like remote, or how do you?
We are all remote. So we currently have 18 substitutes that are in our pool currently that are in the field. As I mentioned, we have like 5 internal staff. They're the ones that doing like the day-to-day work. So everyone is deployed daily in terms of what school they're going to, what classroom they're going to be supporting. Yeah. We do come together quarterly in terms of trying to find a learning practice that we're all experiencing some difficulties with, or maybe we're like rocking it out and we just want to talk more about it just so we can help someone else. It is a nice way because we don't see each other on a regular basis, and we don't have that like stationary location where we're coming back and sharing out at the end of the day to come together and say, hey, I'm struggling in this area. Can you support me around that? The staff and associate that I mentioned, MJ,
shout out.
She's amazing. So she does like touch points with all of our staff just to make sure that they are doing well. Sometimes you do feel isolated as an educator being in the field by yourself. So just to have someone to say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything that you need? How can we best support you? You know, just that weekly phone call or bi-weekly phone call means a lot and can go very, very far.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, what do you like to do to unwind, and how are you setting those boundaries right now since you don't have that team that's overseeing, you know, every single thing? How do you find peace in your life?
That's a difficult one. Even though I want to say I have a glass of wine, but I'm a social drinker, so
yes.
I can't put that out there. I've been trying to take time at the end of the day just to reflect. So I found myself at the very onset of the business when I started in 2017, up until maybe early this year, where it's just like go, 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 like around the clock. I stop for maybe 3 or 4 hours when my children comes home from school, dinner, bath, bed. You know, those are the times that I'll pause, but then I'm right back downstairs sending out emails or preparing for the next day. And that can be exhausting, right? So lately what I've been doing is stopping myself, setting a clock where I'm saying at 3 o'clock, I am pausing. I'm shutting everything down. Now, if there's an emergency that has up, I mean, it is my business, so I have to jump in, right? So I'm trying to make sure that I have that stopping point, regardless of what's happening. I also been binging Monk. I don't know if you ever.
I've heard of the show, but I've not watched it.
It's so
you
amazing.
Love it?
Yes. My daughter and I used to watch it when she was in middle school. So I'm actually on the 8th season right now. I'm not going to tell you when I started. So
that's okay. That's okay. No shame here.
I've been binging a show, so it's really nice to sit back and just like zone everything out, and as I said, reflect and try to figure out what I need to do for myself.
Yes.
My sister introduced me to this spa where it's actually in Alexandria. I mean, it is about 20 minutes away from Woodbridge, but it's still nice to pencil that in monthly in my schedule. Like, I am going to go in, and I'm not a massage person, so I do the sauna. So I sit in that sauna for 30 minutes at like 135 degrees and just like sweat all my stress away.
De-stress it out. Yeah. I love that. No.
But, just trying to find those different things, having conversation with girlfriends, catching up, anything that I can do to relieve, all life stressors. I actually went to the movies last Friday to see Twister. So if you guys haven't seen that, please do check it out. Okay. So like any of those little things, anything that comes up where I'm like, okay, I can get away from work and just for, 30 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever time frame it is, just focusing on that thing and then, come back to all the craziness of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's so important for entrepreneurs, if they're listening to just take a pause on everything, because you don't want to get burnt out, because I feel like if you are, then maybe it'll transfer over to everything. So you want to make sure you're being healthy about it and just resetting, taking a pause, and just being in the moment and with yourself. So,
and that's what I tell my staff too. I'm just like, family and you first. So, and don't use that as an excuse. Don't
Yes.
call in every day by saying, I need that day. I mean, we all do need that day.
Yes.
And when I hear someone say, I just can't give anymore. Yes, take time for you. This life is going to continue. So take time for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Is there anything that you would like to bring up on the show that maybe I have not touched on?
I do want to. I talked about my dad. I talked about my sister. I talked about my children, but I really didn't talk about my husband, who actually gave me, I guess, like the space to jump in, and having faith in me as well. So I do remember after having my second son right at the onset of the pandemic. So he was born in January of 2020. So,
Yeah, scary times.
we were still in that place where we're just like, we're hearing the buzz, but we'll be fine, right? And then come March, I was still on maternity leave and just like everything shut down. I think for me going through that, it was comforting because I still had a newborn. I was still trying to build the business. But during that time, I kept having that conversation with my husband. I don't want to go back to work. I really want to focus on this. And he said, do it. And sometimes when people say do it, you're just like, are you really dear?
Do you mean
sure?
that?
He was like, no, I mean it. I got you. And just to know that there's a net underneath you for someone to say, I got you. And yeah, go ahead and jump and I'm going to catch you. That was really, really impactful. So my husband was there from the very beginning. He was like, I don't even know why you're questioning this. You got this. So
Shout out, hubby.
shout out, Jeremy.
Aw, so sweet.
So we've been married for, oh my goodness. So we got married in 2012. So 12 years. We celebrated 12 years back in May. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And he's definitely been a support system in terms of the work that I'm doing. So I think my family, as they said, a village. You have to reach out and then you have to lean on people that that love and care about you and always will be there to support you. And also be able to say, yeah, you're going down the wrong path. This is not it for you. Yeah. Those honest people in your life. So that's definitely what I want to surround myself with.
Yeah. You sound very blessed, like Miss Harris.
Thank you.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm happy.
Thank you so much.
I've had people like that in my life too, who I'm just like, maybe someone is watching out over me because they just opened my third eye about this, and I didn't even know. So
third eye, yeah,
right? Or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, but I think for me, just hearing myself talk about this is to make sure that I'm acknowledging those people a little bit more in my life, and I think they know it. But sometimes just to stop and say,
yes,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for getting me to this point because without you, right, none of this would be possible.
Yes, and then you and your hard work too, and putting
and
wanting
right?
it. So you have to want it too, right?
Working around the clock.
Exactly.
Yeah, props to me.
Exactly. All right. So, would you like to leave any parting words for our listeners? Anything that's in your heart?
If you do have a passion for education, if you do have a passion for working with young children, this is your time. This is the time for women. This is the time for Black and brown educators to go out and do a lot that they can do for our educational field. We educators don't get the representation that they should. They don't get paid. I'm not even going to say not enough, but they don't get paid anything at all for the work that they do daily. So I do believe that if you do have that drive, don't hold back. Don't do something else. I want you definitely to be in the classroom supported. And we are currently hiring. So
yeah,
if
bust out that sign.
If you're interested in joining us, we want to make sure that you are the substitute to join on our team. So if you're looking to join our team, please do check out our Facebook, our Instagram page. You can also find us on online as well in terms of our website.
Yes.
So that is nelsonearlylearning.com. And we'll love for you to join our team.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
You're
being on the
welcome.
podcast and sharing your amazing, amazing stories. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
This is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.